Philosophers have been asking for hundreds of years, what is Escape from Tarkov? Well, today I'm going to teach you how to play it and what it is. Because, as somebody who has insert, 1700, 1600 hours under my belt, I feel pretty confident to say that I can probably tell you what Escape from Tarkov is. Or at least kind of what it's about. So, anyways, I made a handy little graph that easily explains Tarkov in just a few easy steps. So, bear with me, like and subscribe, you know what to do. Let's look at it real quick. Okay, so this right here is what the entire graph looks like if you really want to zoom in and overanalyze it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to focus on some key areas. That way you really know how to play the game. So let's get started. Okay, so basically what Tarkov is to break it down in its simplest form, is a game about getting into an area, killing enemies, looting boxes, and leaving the areas with the loot you've acquired. And that is as simple and cut and dry as you can make Escape from Tarkov. Now, there's a whole story from Escape from Tarkov, but it's really not super important unless you're super into the game and you really want to know like all the nitpicky things. Most of the time, most people don't even read the quest stuff. They just do the quests. Okay, so in Tarkov, there's two different kinds of modes. There is PvP, which is like what most people used to play. And then they have recently added PvE. So PvE, the only difference is that you're playing against AI and you'll never encounter another player. It's local on your computer and the progress is just the same. You're just playing against AI. PvP, the only difference between that and PvE is you're playing against players. That is literally the only difference. And so a lot of times people play Tarkov because of the gunplay. The gunplay is extremely good. It is by far the best game gun-wise I have ever played. I've played Call of Duties since Modern Warfare 2, the original 2009 version that came out on the Xbox 360, and I still haven't found a game that can rival Tarkov in its gunplay. Their animations, their textures, the sounds, everything just works with their guns. I love the gunplay. It is 10 out of 10 the best thing I love about Tarkov. The movement is pretty good in Tarkov. It's not very hard to master. There isn't a whole lot of terrain you have to worry about. It's literally just WASD, shift is sprint, control is crouch, you can lay prone, there's all sorts of stuff, but movement costs stamina and aiming costs arm stamina. That's the only difference. And there's stamina meters for both. The blue is the arm and the green is the movement. Just getting into the story of Tarkov. Tarkov is basically an area of Ukraine/Russia that has been molded and taken over by Terror Group, USEC, and Bear. And a lot of the enemies and a lot of the story that goes on there relates to all of those groups. Just on that basis, there's different types of enemies that you're going to encounter. You're going to encounter, if you're playing PvP, you're going to encounter other players. That can either be Bear or USEC. When you first start the game, you'll be asked by like the game manager, or when you're first in the game in the menu, whether you want to be Bear or USEC. And there's certain like niche things that like make one faction a little bit better than the other, but besides that, there's really no difference in what faction you choose, because like there may be a quest down the line, but it's not required for anything specifically. And then there are scavs, which are called scavs because they're scavengers. They're local villagers that have resorted to stealing and fighting and murdering to survive. And then you have rogues, which is like another separate military force that controls the lighthouse. You have raiders, which are an advanced military group made up of USEC, Bear, and scavs, but they have pretty advanced gear. And then there's bosses, and then the rest is pretty much just that's literally all the enemies there are. The bosses are extremely well tuned AI that know how to fight, where to fight. They know how to push you. They know when you're healing. They're like your average scav turned up to 10. They're like the most hard scav you'll ever find. A lot of the bosses aren't terrible to deal with. There's a few that are kind of a pain because they're heavy armor and heavy weapons with good ammo. Um, but most of the time when you encounter a boss, you'll know you're encountering a boss because the presence of AI to player ratio is off, and there's a ton of AI, and they're all doing weird voice lines. If you're a new player, I doubt you'll really run into cultists any. I feel like if you run into cultists, it's accidentally as a new player, and you're just playing a night raid and you're messing around and you find a cultist. So we're not going to worry about it for this video. The dangers of Tarkov, that's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you're either going to get shot, blown up, stabbed. There's going to be everything possible, but the main thing is just kind of exploring new areas when you're new and really figuring out the safer areas and the not so safer areas and then planning accordingly. Because on Lighthouse, prime example, you go anywhere towards the water treatment plant, which is on one side of the map, it's very dangerous. But if you go on the other side of the map, especially in PvE, there's barely any AI or barely anything that like will mess with you. You can pretty much loot for free and get out. A wipe. So a wipe is only in PvP. So basically what happens when a wipe is when the BSG or Battlestate games completely take all your progress and throw it in the dumpster because they want to restart everybody at the same level, and it gives the game a really fun like 5 weeks of gameplay before it gets really stale again, because everybody's gunning for the same loot, everybody's in the same area, so there's a lot of fights, there's a lot of like Cain and Abel, like I'm gonna hit you with this rock and you're gonna hit me with a stick kind of combat. Like the combat's very primal, and then later into the WAP there's barely like any fair combat. Like if you get caught out in the open, you're just dead because everybody has good ammo and everybody knows where to loot, and it's only really the sweats late WAP. Positioning is important when fighting. I just kind of made this as a lot of these categories are just kind of like honorable mentions. When you're positioning, when you're fighting, there's really no good way to do it. You're just going to have to learn how to you want to always pick high ground. You always want to pick cover, and you always want to keep your enemy in front of you and never like where you're pinned against two things. So, I cannot stress enough how good having headphones is for Tarkov. It is a must-have to have like decent headphones if you're gonna play Tarkov for real, because the hearing in this game is invaluable information, because every single AI will make noise and they will run and they will voice line, and the bosses will voice line, and that is how you know it's a boss. Certain enemies will voice line certain ways, so it's invaluable information to have good headphones. Don't cheap out on headphones. If you're gonna play this game, don't cheap out. Don't get like Apple AirPods and play with Apple AirPods. I've played it with a killer helmet with really bad headphones and it was not good. Basic of this game is loot and extract. Get your loot. Loot is a valuable item or a tool or food or ammo or guns or gear, and just get out of the raid. There's certain exits on every map. The maps are easy to look up. The exits are clearly displayed on every map. They haven't added a new map in a long time besides Streets, but that was a while back. Loot management is very important, but you will learn this more and more as you play, to properly grab loot that is worth money. And the only way you know it's worth money is if you just grab everything up and you sell it to traders, and you'll figure out over time what is expensive and what is not expensive. And this took me a long time to learn, but some items are better vendored towards the actual traders, and some items aren't good towards the traders at all, and you have to sell them on the flea market. But for a new player, I would highly recommend just keeping pretty much most of the loot you find until you realize what is valuable. And if you have it in your inventory and you don't need it anymore, you just sell it, and then that's just extra money in your pocket. So the hideout is like, it's pretty much what the name entails. It's a little hideout that you go to in the menu, and you upgrade all the units of the hideout to get extra bonuses. Like, you can have a weapon rack, you can have Bitcoin, you can have a workshop, which you can craft ammo and weapons and all this stuff. You have a lavatory, which you can craft armor, and you have a kitchen that can make food. You have a moonshine, you have all this stuff. You have a trophy case, a gym. It's invaluable later game. Early game hideout really doesn't matter too much, but if you're gonna play Tarkov long term, I see a lot of people not doing their hideout. You have to do your hideout if you're gonna play long term. It helps you with quests. You can craft items. It's just it gives you something to do, you know. So the flea market is basically like a player-to-player stock market of items. So basically, if there's any items that the traders don't buy for a whole lot, you can check on the flea. The flea market is players selling items to other players only. There's like a player market of what's important and what's not. So a lot of the important items are worth more, and it's really good to use the flea market, but you have to be level 15 in Tarkov before you can even access the flea market. Tarkov can depend on what weapon you're using, and what ammo you're using, but the best thing I can recommend for a new player is to try and just experiment with every gun, because every player has a different opinion on what the best gun is and what the best ammo is. But in my humble opinion, I think that if you're using a gun which you know very well and you can get kills with that weapon, it's a valuable weapon to you, even if it's the worst weapon in the game. I think every weapon has a valid strategy, although some strategies are better than others. I mean, of course the Taz isn't going to be a mutant in a fight, right? In PvP, but there's a chance. So, you know, it's best to experiment and find what you like. Because, I mean, I have a friend that uses like only shotguns pretty much. And then I'm more of like an SMG and sniper rifle kind of guy, you know, but everybody has their own niche. Any high tier ammo, keep it. I mean, there's no point of throwing away good ammo, and there's a Tarkov ammo chart. You can literally hook up Tarkov ammo chart and you see all the ammo and what level of armor it pierces and if it's good or not. So the next big topic, the maps of Tarkov. There's a bunch of different maps of Tarkov, but a lot of the newer players need to stick to customs and factory, because those are just going to let you learn the feel of the game and how the game usually operates. Customs is probably the best example for the newest players. It's an easy map. It's got simple premises. It's really hard to go wrong on customs, because you're going to find loot either way, and you're going to run into scavs. And the scavs aren't that bad on customs. Every map has different quests, so a lot of the time, like early game, it's customs. Later game, it can be streets. Every map has its own little areas, and they take time to learn. It's not something you're going to learn overnight. I have 1,600, 1,700 hours in Tarkov, and I like barely know streets. Like, I know streets to a very fundamental level. Not even an advanced level like a lot of these streamers. I have a very fundamental understanding of streets, because I haven't really played it a whole lot. And, you know, that's just something you got to do to learn it. I mean, it's not like I can tell you some magical trick that's like, oh, I know all the map. No, it's like you're just going to have to play and watch other YouTubers' videos on it, and that's just how it goes. A lot of so I'm going to spill a few secrets here, like knowing when to loot. I'm going to combine where do I get the good loot and knowing when to loot and fight. A lot of times when you're playing the game, you know when you need to do a loot run and when you need to do a quest run. It's usually a fighting run. The loot runs, if you want the best answer of where you get the good loot, it's obviously labs. Everybody knows it's labs. Let's not kid ourselves. It's labs. Next is probably Lighthouse. Lighthouse is a very close second, because it has so many good spots, and they're so like kind of spread out that a lot of people can get to them, and you don't really have to compete as much. Reserve isn't terrible on PvE, but it's really not great. My third place honorable mention for where you get the good loot is honestly customs. I mean, a lot of the customs loot is not bad, and like you can kill a lot of scavs. You can kill a lot of like goons have been spawning like crazy. The boss has been spawning a lot. You find cultists there at night. Like it's a good, well-rounded map. You got loot caches that are literally all over the map. Those are free. And the next big thing is quests. Quests are so important to Tarkov. They are what drive you to go to other maps and to do certain things and do crazy things you probably would never do. For example, one of the Jaeger quests is to go and kill scavs on woods without using any medicine. Like, you would never typically do that, but the quests are what drive you, and the quests give you unique rewards that you typically can't. I mean, you can't get them anywhere else. Like the trader rep the XP, all that stuff. You want to do quests if you're going to play Tarkov. Like, quests are what is going to drive you. And whenever you do quests, you level up your traders. This goes into trader leveling. Whenever you level up your traders, it's so good. It's when you level traders and get them to a higher level, and you can buy higher gear or higher level gear. It makes life in Tarkov so much easier. Early wipe when they're all level 1, it's good to trade them certain things, but most of the time they don't have anything good. Once you get them to level 4, they're selling crazy good gear. Like the difference between 1 and 4 is completely off the charts. And typically, so rounding off to when to sell or buy on the fleet, because that can kind of go into trader leveling. Like a lot of the quests require certain items to be handed over, like gas analyzers or flash drives or anything like that. Just make sure to prioritize your quests over the fleet if you want. I would personally recommend that. I think it's the best strategy. I mean, that's kind of when you need something found in raid, that's what you're going to do either way. All of this goes into progression. Progression in this game is some of the best I've ever played in any video game. It's right up there with gunplay. The progression in this game feels natural. It feels like you're not getting a giant power spike or anything. It's a slow, grindy process, but you feel proud of yourself at the end because you have all this stuff set up. You have all these quests completed. You've done so much, and you get real rewards progressing in this game. Like, you get new guns, new gear, new attachments that help you fight better. You get new access to backpacks, new all this. It helps you in the game. This progression, if you get far enough to the very end, you can unlock Kappa Container, which is a type of secure container, and that just requires me to explain secure containers really quick. So secure containers are little, like 4x4 pouches if you don't have the deluxe edition and you're just doing the standard, because if you're playing the game for the first time, I assume you'd probably buy the standard. You know, it's like, I don't know how much it was. I bought it at one point, but I don't know. They may have changed it. But yeah, a secure container is something you can put items to, and whether you die or not, it will stay in that container. Whenever you die in Tarkov, you lose all your gear except for what's in your container. So on that note, Kappa Container is like the super ultra upgraded version that you get when you're like super high level and you've done all the quests and you do all this stuff. And it's a huge container. It's bigger than any container you can get from just buying a game version. It's an actual upgrade. You cannot buy it right now, at least. Who knows what BSG might do in the future. But I think one of the best parts of progression is probably the drip you get. And you can buy it from Ragman, which is one of the traders in game. And he sells you clothes, Ragman, obviously. I think the drip is great because it just incentivizes you to do certain things. Like the tracksuit is one of the hardest things to get in game, and you have to kill a boss like 50 times to get this tracksuit. But you can bling out, and that's in every game I play. Like customization, like costumes and all this stuff. That is what makes a game fun. Grinding for stuff like that is in a skin in a game that's unique and it rewards you. Just like, okay, we're gonna go back. I'm going to throw you back in the past. Back in my day, back in Halo Reach. You remember when you had to grind for skins? You remember when you had to grind for armor? And when you got that armor set, you felt that sense of pride. You felt it. You could feel it. And that's what I love about this drip. Is you can get this drip only by doing quests as of right now. So personal opinions on Tarkov, I love this game. It's been my best game. I've played it the most. I love the premise of it. I love the lore. I love the gameplay. I can't personally complain about the game. I know BFG has done some scummy stuff, and they'll probably continue to do some scummy stuff. But I believe that this game will end up better in the long run. It may become some customizable Chinese trade crap game that goes in the garbage like PUBG did. It may do that. But I believe in the game. I believe in the premise behind the game. And even if they trash the game, at least I'll have the fond memories of getting to play when the game was good. So you should play Tarkov because the game is good now. You should experience it while it is still in its mid years. You know what I mean? Before they move on to another project. So with that said, that's pretty much Tarkov. I mean, I've explained pretty much everything you'll need to know. Some things are very niche. I mean, I think I think a lot of this stuff you'll kind of just figure out on your own. And then if you don't like Tarkov, you don't like looting, you just want to play something like Call of Duty or CSGO, you play Arena. It's just combat. That's all you have to do. You just get a loadout, you just go in there, you fight them, and you're done. It's like a quick Call of Duty match. If you're looking for a non-long-term commitment, play Arena first. And if you like the gameplay in Arena and you like how Arena feels and you want it to be a little bit more slow-paced, you play Tarkov. I'm telling you, you'll love it. I love this game. I've done countless videos on this game, and I will probably still continue to do countless videos on this game. And I doubt anybody will have watched this point, but please, if you've watched, please comment. I would very much appreciate it, just to know I'm not, like, talking to a wall. But thank you. Thank you to all you guys out there. This is after my 10-hour shift, if you can't tell. I look busted and beat up like a radiator. And I know I haven't posted a video on last day, but, dude, I've been moving. It's been a whole thing. But I think you guys are great. If you watched till now, thank you. Thank you for watching until now. But with that said, and you aren't subscribed, like and subscribe. Do me a favor. Come on, man. And, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. All right. Enjoy your day. Have a good day. All right.